Okay, so if I hover over the icons within the set, you'll notice, or set of tools, let me clarify that, the set of tools. Symbol shifter, symbol scruncher, symbol sizer, spinner, stainer, screener, and then the last one's called styler. So all of the tools are really effective. They do their job very well, except for one, the last one. The last one here is called a symbol styler. And the styler, unfortunately, does not work very well because it taxes your computer and your system too heavily. It tends to break the file. So I would say if you ever work with a symbol set, first of all, symbol sets tend to be heavy to begin with. They will tax your file. They'll start running your files more slowly. It might create a problem. Whenever a file becomes heavy in Illustrator, it increases the rate of corruption and crashing. So the fact that I'm working with a symbol set is a problem already. And then if I decide to use this feature out here called the symbol styler, I'm going to make it so heavy that it's just going to break. Now, if we work with it as an example, it might work okay for today. But if you were working on a formal project, you're really playing with fire if you start working with this last icon. How do I know this? What do you guys think? How do I know this? From experience. And it's nightmarish. And I have students that every once in a while will attempt to use it and it breaks. It happened last quarter. I had a student named Kenneth, and Cindy can attest to this. Kenneth started using the symbol sprayer in his project 2, the final project in this class, and his file basically stopped working. We could see it, we could launch it, but if we moved one element, it just hung up. It would just get stuck with the spinning wheel of death. So, and the problem was the symbol. He had symbols and it just didn't work very effectively. So I would say the symbol tool in general is fun. I think it has a place, but I would use with caution, and I would also avoid the last icon at all costs. Do not use this at all right? So the first tool is called the symbol shifter, and what this does, and if we double click on these, you'll notice that once again I can influence the intensity and density of this specific tool. So you'll notice that it's highlighted, the symbol shifter is highlighted, and I can modify these variables if I want to, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of these leaves, maybe this one right here, and you'll notice that it allows me to move it within the set. So that's what the symbol shifter does. It allows me to move a symbol maybe from where I sprayed it to a new location. There's kind of a big negative space out here. I want to fill that, maybe. Or maybe I want to create a negative space. Maybe I want to create an open area where I'm going to write something or a different graphic's going to go there. So I'm going to move these symbols around. Now you'll notice, is the red leaf moving? You'll notice that subtly it kind of looks like it's doing it, but it's not being influenced as greatly as the others. That's because that's not the symbol of focus right now. So if I click on the Maple Leaf 2 or the darker red one, now I can modify it. So if I want to modify the symbols, I have to be on the active symbol and have it selected to ensure that's the one that's being manipulated. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to move these leaves around over here. So that's basically what the shifter does. It allows me to move them. Pretty straightforward, right? The next one's called the symbol scruncher. And you'll notice that the icon looks like 3 circles that are sort of being pulled or pointed to one location. So that's exactly how this tool works. It basically acts like a magnet. So if I click on this spot right here, you'll notice that it pulls the symbols towards it. And I'm kind of shaking the mouse back and forth, kind of scrubbing back and forth. And you'll notice that it's influencing these symbols to pull towards it. Now, one of the things that you should also be aware of is that if I hold the Alt or Option key down, it'll work in the opposite direction. So instead of working like a magnet, it's sort of pushing the symbols away. I'm holding Alt right now, or the Option key. If I let go of the Option key and I use it in its default state, you'll notice that it starts to pull them closer together. So that's basically how that tool works. Okay, so my goal here is I want to make this look more realistic, more organic. So the next tool is going to start helping me with that. This one's called the sizer. And the sizer, let me just zoom in on the icon. That's the sizer right there. The sizer allows me to play with scale. So in the state of nature, I don't think that I would have a bunch of leaves that were all the same size. It would be a mixed batch, right? They're all going to be slightly different from one another. So this allows me to click on the leaf, and the more that I click on it, the larger it's going to get. And if I hold Alt down, you'll notice that it's going to scale down. So Alt or Option is going to allow me to work in it in the polar influence. As you can see that. And I can just spray all over and kind of, hover the mouse around and sort of just be expressive or playful as I manipulate them. And once again, the goal here is to try to make them all look a little bit different from one another, to try to get them to look more the way that leaves sort of on the ground would look like, have more of that chaos that we were talking about earlier. So they're all pointing in the same direction. The next tool would allow me to modify that. This is called the symbol spinner. So the symbol spinner allows me to click on a symbol, and when I do that, you'll notice it populates this arrow. So this is the direction of the symbol. So if I spin around my mouse over that object, I can turn the symbol to a new position. So the symbol spinner will allow me to manipulate the position of the leaves. So this is a point where I start getting frustrated. The influence and intensity is too slow. So I'm going to double click on that and increase it. So I'm going to go to 8 and 8. 8 and 8 to make this go a little bit faster. All right, so I'm getting impatient here. And according to people who know me, they tell me that I'm very impatient. I disagree. I tell them that I'm patient, but they've exhausted it. So let me move this around. Or sometimes I say I use up all my patience in class, and by the time I get home, it's all gone. You guys don't think that's funny? All right, let's spin this around. You can see I'm moving them around. All right. And then the next one is probably my favorite out of all of them. This one's called the symbol stainer. So you'll notice it looks like a little bucket, and it's pouring paint onto the symbol. And one of them is changing colors. So that's exactly how this works. So if I go to my swatch panel and I pick, for example, this red swatch and click on the symbol, make sure I'm on it. Click on the symbol. Oh, it's on stroke. I'm sorry. Good catch. Good catch. Make sure it's on fill. It can't be the stroke. So when I click on it, you'll notice that it tints the leaf or the symbol with that color, right? So they all wouldn't be the same orange. They're going to be different colors. And the more I click on the same leaf, the more saturated it becomes with that color. So I can click on some green. Maybe some of them just fell. Whoops. Let's see here. I'm totally doing this wrong. Make sure it's on the fill. Add some green to it. Some of them just fell. Maybe they still had a little bit of green in there. Maybe some of them have some yellow. Right, so I'm building in that chaos that we were talking about earlier. Some are orange, different orange. Okay, so I'm starting to get that chaos that I was looking for. Now, the other leaf is not being influenced. You can see that I'm trying to click on it, nothing's happening. So if I wanted to change those, I would have to focus on it, activate it by clicking on it in my panel, and now I can manipulate it. And now I can change those. So don't forget, if you have multiple symbols, you will have to activate it within the panel by clicking on it and making sure that that black frame is on there. Okay, the next feature is called the symbol screener. And screening is a design term that implies that it's becoming transparent. So the screener will make the symbols semi-transparent. And the more I click on it, the more transparent it will become. So that is how the symbols basically work. So I just walk you through the logic of the tool. Any questions that you might have?